Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to episode number 12 of our Let's Play series, looking at Gary Grigsby's Bombing the Reich. This is going to be a big turn. In our last episode, we planned this turn's raids, but we didn't resolve them. In today's episode, we are going to be resolving a 220 B-17 raid in the Northern Ruhr, a second 220 plane B-17 raid in the Northern Ruhr, and an 800 plane raid at Frankfurt am Main, our first raid into sort of the deep south of, I guess Frankfurt's central Germany, but in any event, that's the furthest we've penetrated outside of Berlin into Germany. So this is going to be a big turn, a lot of heavy raids. We'll see if it comes with heavy casualties. In our last turn, we spent a lot of time raiding enemy airfields. In today's turn, it's going to be more about raiding the targets and seeing what comes up and fighting them in the sky. We've got a lot of heavy escort missions for the B-17s, so hopefully that helps keep losses down, but we'll see how it plays out. With that being said, I'm going to step aside. This was taken from a live stream on my channel a couple of days ago over on Twitch, and let's go ahead and see how this unfolds. All right, I think that's going to do it. I think we did all the AI stuff we could do. Take a look at these planes here. We've got 800 bombers hitting Frankfurt, 400 B-17s hitting two different targets in the Ruhr, and then a lot of airfield strikes. Couple of rail and night interdictions, a lot of recon. AI didn't plan that much, though, despite handing them the reins. So we will see how this one turns. Something's wrong with our radar system. It's all red. What do you mean? Oh, you're saying the Germans. It just looks like everything's reporting is coming. You can do a max. We did a 1,100 bomber raid on Berlin earlier in the campaign, but right now we've got too many aircraft down for maintenance that we can't get that many off the ground. All right, let's do this. Let's go. And away we go. And the initial recon raids in the morning are off. And I think they got the recon on because it didn't say they couldn't see the target. Bremerhaven also got its recon out. No enemy fighter aircraft intercepted either of them. Neither of them were shot down by flak. So it looks like they all got in okay. Recon flights over the Ruhr today. Looks like targets are visible. Cloud cover is pretty damn minimal over the Ruhr, so hopefully, unless some stuff forms up here later in the day, you can see cloud cover does form up. Unless stuff forms up later in the day, these subsequent recon flights, not necessary. They are starting to send a few interceptors up against some of these recon flights. They're attacking one of our lightnings and damaging it, our recon plane. We're bombing. The AI decided to bomb the airfields in Paris? We have no intel that there's enemy aircraft there, so they just bombed an empty airfield. Good job, boys. And taken loss to flak. There must have been intel saying there were fighters there at some point, but I'm guessing it was well out of date recon. Orvetto or P-38s came in here on this airfield that has no flak. Damaging one 2001, destroying a 2001. All right, so I think there were like 40 aircraft at this field. But there is some flak, though, because they're destroying 20mm AAs. 109s near France or near Paris are intercepting some of those Typhoons on the way out. 10 are intercepting some Mustangs, which are doing some mission that I'm not really sure about. With Typhoons, probably bombing another enemy airfield. But hey, we got a 109 in the air. Woo, woo, woo. Well, the Frankfurt raid's at night. Just keep that in mind, Zarnia. So this is the daytime phase right now. It's 10 in the morning. All right, so we're damaging some enemy aircraft on the route to the actual Ruhr targets here. Some 109s getting damaged on the ground. Again, right now, these are firmly AI raids over Northern Europe. So Typhoons attacking enemy aircraft at the fields. Also, if those are night versions of the 109, then they're going to be out of the action for tonight's flight, which will also fly right along their potential flight path. I think the R6 is a night version of the 109, right? The G6, obviously a high altitude, high performance fighter, but is the R6, it's either a heavy version with like gun pods or it's a night version. I'm not sure which. Nonetheless, we're getting a decent amount of them on the ground at Gladenbach here. Usually I've found that strafing targets with fighters rather than dedicated bombing targets actually works better for destroying aircraft on the ground, although at a considerably higher cost. But at least in that turn, it seemed like they did okay. Okay. Some Typhoons hitting the Aachen-Mersenberg airfield. Also hitting 109 G6s. Those are just daytime versions on the ground. Got one. Just one, but got one. And enemy fighters are bouncing some P-38s coming in on a ground raid. Intercepting the 306 Polish squadron. All right, I guess the only good thing is we're about an hour before the B-17s fly, and there's a lot of German aircraft in the air. That may sound like it's not a good thing, but I'm assuming it's a good thing because I'm assuming they won't have the fuel to do what they're doing now and then also come and intercept the B-17s, which will be on their way soon. So that should help. It's funny that the Italian raids that the AI planned are all flying over the one bank of clouds in that area and all having to divert to secondary targets. It's actually also kind of amusing because we are engaging the enemy with our fighters that are sweeping. It's almost like the fighters are acting as diversions for the bombers rather than the bombers as diversions for the fighters, or bait, I guess I should say. Because it's kind of the reverse of what will happen later in the war. Doctrinally, anyway. Losses pretty even so far. A lot lower than yesterday, but definitely will include pilot losses, unlike yesterday, so I don't know, we'll see, because the B-17s are about to get into the fight. About an hour they'll be up. I'm hoping that means the PM phase will deal with a lot less enemy fighters. This is definitely not a max effort by the Germans to intercept all these guys. But I'm hoping that means that, you might fly twice, right? But the odds of you flying 3 times, probably not as good, I would think. All right. Getting some nice air-to-air results here. The Nigeria squadron intercepting with 9 Spitfire 9s. Damaged 1, destroyed 1. They also lost one of their own. The Spitfire 12 X11 version. I know Hauser is a big fan of that, saying one of the best Spitfires that we'll have for the next year, but they only made like 100-something of them. So every one that you lose sucks. It's also, I think, a single supercharger version, so not as good at high altitude. P-38's engaging some SAI 207s. Nice. By the way, I haven't thanked folks for earlier, but Stoic Nomad, Chicken Barber, and Barnsdale, thank you for the follows earlier today, and Venz, thank you for the resub. Appreciate the support. B-24 is heading Capua Airfield. No enemy fighters on the ground there, apparently. They're doing no damage. And they're getting bounced by 205s. Okay, so some cloud cover is beginning to form along the coast, along the channel over Holland. Shouldn't matter for the raids on the Ruhr. The Ruhr still looks pretty open. This is a slow developing turn. A lot of action in the morning. 32 D520s. engaging marauders. Those marauders look like they were sent to their death. They better have fighter escorts because it doesn't look like it. 15 Spitfires, huh? Hey, we got a 109 destroyed. 3 more. They're coming in on... Are these guys... What are these 15 Spitfires doing? Oh, it's just recon flights? Yeah, okay. I don't know anything about the SAI, but 28 D520s. Poor B26s. I made a mistake with them. 3 of them D520s destroyed, though. I wonder if those are the close escorts doing it as opposed to the gunners. Usually it tells you the fighter squadron's engaging the enemy, but... So in primarily air-to-air results, we've destroyed a couple of enemy aircraft on the ground, but primarily air-to-air results, losses are pretty even so far. And if the enemy lost 20 pilots, I'd say that's a huge victory. Like, that's, from a quality of enemy air force, probably a bigger victory than yesterday's 100 aircraft destroyed. They certainly can't replace 100 aircraft, but... All right, the B-26s took all that damage on their way in, and they bombed an empty airfield. All right, I think the B-17s are flying now. It's 11:14, or maybe they're about to take off. Maybe it was 11:50 when their raids were ready to go. So the enemy is getting a little bit of a breather to rearm, but Tilly Airfield being hit by hurricanes. I don't know if there's any enemy fighters there. They're destroying some flak at least, which is something the Germans have to replace. That is something that, like, their industry has to produce, so some tangible benefit there. All right, Photo Recon has gotten the second target now. D520 crashed. Pilots killed. B-17s are still not in the air, are they? Come on, guys. Enemy fighters are 21 Spitfires. Damaged 2 BF-110Gs. Heavy weather is delaying the form-up? Really? My carefully laid plans being thwarted by the weather again. I don't even see any cloud cover over there. What are you guys talking about? How much does it delay? Take off already. Okay. I think they're underway now. Yep. P-17s are flying, or at least yep, they are flying. All right, so our P-47s are engaging the enemy. So enemy fighter squadrons engaged by P-47s out front and up top. We got one 109. We got another 109. Enemy are scrambling more fighters to come after us. We got some Spitfires going in, destroying a D-520, which we've seen a lot of this entire turn. 3 P-47s going in, damaging a 520. The only bad thing about all these early engagements is they're going to chew through our available fuel so that we're going to have a bigger gap of no fighter coverage. Presumably when fighters from further afield of the Germans come to engage us, but... Good start, though. These P-47s, I'm wondering if it's simulating them hitting the enemy aircraft as they climb to try and attack the bombers. Because none of those those engagements, the Germans didn't really shoot back at our fighters at all. They just swept in and got hit. Mosquitoes bombing Graziani Airfield. They had a bad day yesterday. Hopefully less of a bad day today. One of them just got hit by flak, though. They are damaging enemy anti-aircraft guns. I think I saw one aircraft destroyed on the ground. I wish you could set it to just focus on one raid where it's like, I don't really care about all these other results. I just want to follow the B-17s over Northern Europe instead of pulling me back down to Italy to check out what's going on down there. It's still important, but it'd be interesting if you could follow it raid by raid. I think you can lock your camera, but I don't know if you can lock updates. I don't think you can. All right, 109s are bouncing some of our P-47s, but the 109, they lost one at least. Another 109 destroyed. The enemy's losing quite a few fighters on this raid here, this initial portion of the raid. But again, all of this air combat burns fuel. The enemy has fighters coming from out near Munster that haven't, they're burning fuel to get to us, but they're going to come in presumably organized and ready to fight. Nonetheless, keep doing damage, keep shooting these pilots down. 10 Kitty Hawks. I would say the AI has done a very competent job, right? Like, mostly air-to-air combat today, and the enemy is losing slightly more aircraft than us. A few of those aircraft lost on the ground, but mostly lost, in the air. We saw our first group of 109s break through to the B-17s. They didn't really do any damage. We didn't lose a B-17 there. It looks like the fighters might have broken off from the bombers. I don't know that we still have fighters with the bomber group, because these bombers are all the way up here. Meanwhile, there's sort of a swirling dogfight near Arnhem that's unfolding. We just lost a B-17, but that was to flak. B-17s are over the target. They have lost one bomber all the way to the target. They've lost a total of one bomber. They are hitting the target. They can see. It is visible. They're hitting the fuel plant. Nothing saying they can't see it because of smoke or anything like that. So hopefully these boys are aiming well and doing damage to the AG, because they've got... All right, so we lost a second B-17 there, but still. And they probably, some of them took some damage from flak, but nice. Those 109s came through to the bomber formation, and one of them got shot down by the bombers. The other good thing here is the game... the way that these raids usually go bad, and we do still have some P-47s with the bombers. Actually, we might have our second wave of P-47s coming in to join them up here soon. But the way that these raids usually go bad, it's not like 10 fighters sweep down and shoot down a bunch of bombers. It is cumulative. So typically the fighters will come in, and sometimes, as you've seen here, sometimes they'll destroy a bomber outright. But usually it's they damaged him. They damaged him. They damaged him. They damaged him. And you see the formations start to come apart. You see the number of those round drills spread out behind the raid increase. The formation loses its cohesion. And then more fighters come in and finish off the damaged aircraft. That's usually how you take really heavy losses. You don't usually have a raid where you lose 30 bombers and it's all just swoop in, destroy. It's usually an attritionary process. And so we didn't see a lot of that, right? There was some damaged aircraft from flak. You can see it starting to trail out now on the way out. But they got to the target having only lost one bomber. They lost one immediately after. There's a few stragglers in here, but for the most part, the raid kept its cohesion. They'll probably lose 10 to 15 bombers, but out of 220, a loss rate of less than 10%, that's a huge win, in my opinion, at this stage of the war for the Allies, when you don't have the P-51s yet. All right, so we got some other raids later in the day that the AI planned. B-17 crashes on the runway. John Gossage killed. First Lieutenant Larry Townsend killed. First Lieutenant Richard Simotek. Okay. Rupp is killed. B-26 is hitting Suravetti Airfield. Hey, they moved a new fighter squadron there, SAI-207. So the field we devastated yesterday, it looks like they brought more aircraft into. Meanwhile, I think this is our second raid now, and our P-47's getting out ahead of the 109s here, destroying some enemy aircraft ahead of the enemy bombers. You can see a lot less enemy fighter activity at this point, too. You don't see anywhere near as many Iron Crosses here on the field. Some 520s trying to get up at us, and our fighters are attacking them as well. But it looks to me like the German defenses over the Ruhr, and I'm sure I'm jinxing this, maybe a little bit tired. Also, those two raids came in a lot closer, So those initial fighters may actually be on the ground refueling. But I don't see huge formations of enemies flying up to intercept us. It's a much more scattered response to the second raid. So that's good news. Assuming that the cloud cover is good and we get another raid in. Charles Gautier is wounded. And Ortega is killed. A lot of damaged aircraft being destroyed in crash landings. All right, so they got some 110s. They got some heavies up intercepting us. 19 110s coming in. 2 B-17s damaged, 2 destroyed. Okay. So that's the first attack of heavies we've seen. 1 destroyed by flak. Remember, the second raid is going over a much more difficult flak path. P-47 finished off one of the 110s. Spitfire destroyed another 109. P-47 finishes off another 110. 2 more destroyed by flak as they head over the Ruhr. So this is going to be probably a heavier loss rate raid, if only because of the flak. We've already lost like 6 or 7 bombers here as we approach the target. We don't have as good a fighter cover on the second raid too. Although we still have P-47s with them right now, and they are doing some damage to the enemy. All right, they're over the target. Target is visible. 381st is bombing the Carnap Kraftwerk. Is this a... I thought I were... What? I have to look at this target again. I thought it was a... power plant, but is it a power plant? All right, another aircraft destroyed by flak. 7 more 47s intercepting enemy fighters. Some 109, another 109 shot down. 110 damaged. 2 110s destroyed. Nice. My German is very rusty, Terja. Thank you. All right. Now we got to fly back over that heavy flak, which isn't great. Again, you can see the raid is stringing out now. The enemy is going to swarm it. So we might lose, we probably only lost 6 to 10 bombers in the first raid, probably closer to 10. So the first raid did very well. The second raid, we might lose 20, maybe. Although that first raid probably was closer to 15 with all the crash landings we saw. 2 destroyed. But this second raid not going quite as smoothly. We are still shooting down a lot of enemy fighters, so it's not cheap for the Germans to be doing what they're doing. But I think the biggest problem here is, one, they actually hit the second raid with 110s, with heavy aircraft with much heavier guns. They didn't hit the first raid with those. And 2, the flak was much heavier, so a lot more aircraft were damaged on the way in. But I think I've seen 6 or 7 aircraft lost to flak so far in this raid by itself. The first raid, I think I saw 2. Okay. So our aircraft losses are going to exceed theirs, despite holding pretty even most of the way through the beginning of the raid. That being said, certainly I think this is favoring us. What's that one P-47 pilot? I'm going to destroy a barrage balloon. What are you doing, dude? Why are you destroying these balloons? To what there's enemy fighters all over the sky and you're shooting down barrage balloons. A lot of stragglers getting shot down now. Does a barrage balloon count as a kill in World War II? I knew it did in World War I, but did it in World War II? Still, even if we lose 20 fewer, like if they lose 60 pilots and we lose like 80, that's a huge win for us, I think. Mama, I shot a man. He was in a barrage balloon. I don't know. Hopefully we don't see another wave of fighters hit us on the way out and we're largely free and clear. I'd be thrilled if it ends like 70 to 60 something in terms of losses. But again, we're probably, with this long of a string, we're also probably going to see a lot of crash landings. But it doesn't look like at least the route out is going to have much in the way of enemy fighters. It looks like we're probably mostly clear. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon. There's a whole bunch of aircraft attacking the tail of the formation now. 110s again. Some 190s coming from the Dutch islands. So this is where losses are going to tick up to like 90-ish probably for the day. Most of these are single B-17s, a couple of pairs. But the main rate is way... I'm not sure exactly where, but it's definitely ahead. A lot of singles. A lot of stragglers. Probably 20 stragglers all told up in that area. I don't even know where the main rate is. It's a ways out somewhere. Might already be all the way out. Be interesting if your escorts could push beyond the main formation and go for this to support the stragglers, but God damn it. They're basically runt hunting at this point. Just a handful of enemy 110s are sweeping up the rear of the formation and doing great harm. I feel like we've lost 10 aircraft to that already. I was very optimistic at the start of that raid, and by the end of this, things got a lot less pretty. I don't know that it's a black day, Gentile. I don't think we lost 30 bombers in this. Well, maybe we did. The first raid went great. The enemy certainly didn't get off free either. We inflicted pretty heavy casualties to them. So 23 Spitfires came in, and they didn't even push to the end of the formation. They just joined up with the main body, left these handful of bombers out here to die. All right, so we're at 94. Now we get the crash landings. It'll probably push us up to 100. George von Arab is wounded. It's an awfully German-sounding name to me. William Harrington is killed. All right, so 96. 96 to 66. That may sound bad, 30 plane difference. Honestly, at this stage in the war, that's a victory for the Allies, I think. And now we got the 800 plane raid that's about to hit Frankfurt. Now, I don't know that I can meaningfully follow, like, there's going to be a lot of damaged or coned or other things like that type updates for the night raid. I care more about, are they going to hit the target? So we can see night interdiction raids are going. Attacks on rail yards. Rouen. I didn't plan any of these interdiction raids. These are all AI planned. We didn't throw any RCM aircraft up, did we? That's a problem. That's my mistake. I didn't send any jammers up. If I planned the raid, I should have planned jammers. I did not. This may get ugly. This may get... oh, my God. I always send jammers up, and they've been really effective. But I just realized I sent 800 planes out there without any radar countermeasure aircraft. So there's not going to be any chaff or other things dropping to confuse German radar. Uh-oh. We're just sending them in, boys. Just go. All right, let's speed things along. Let's see how this goes. All right, here they come. Oh, nope, not yet. All right, here they come. No radar countermeasures to protect him. We were at 96 aircraft lost at the start of the raid. Oh, that is ticking up quickly. Fuck. Well, I guess this raid's gonna show why radar is important to radar countermeasures are important. We are doing quite a bit of damage there, though. If we take a look at Frankfurt, it was not very heavily damaged before the raid. Oh my God. We lost over 30 aircraft out of 800. Oh well. It's not like it's... Percentage-wise, it'll be better than the Americans, but the British couldn't sustain the losses that the Americans could. At a loss rate level, anyway. Or they were unwilling to. I don't know if they couldn't, but... I mean, the Americans couldn't either, really. Don't get mad at me if you're American or British or Commonwealth. I don't know what to say here. Italy surrenders. Yay! 46 Italian air units are disbanded. Some of them joined the Germans, but a large chunk of the Italian Air Force has surrendered. Eat that, Mussolini. You're about to be strung up. Not quite yet, but someday soon you will be strung up via piano wire. All right, let's get rid of the clouds. Let's go see what we did to Frankfurt. Okay, shall we? That's a pretty good... We burned out a big chunk of that city. That is... I would say that's a good result. Aircraft losses for the day. 58 B-17s. That's a little worse than I thought. Now, some of those might have been over Italy, but 58 B-17s, that's 580 crewmen on planes that were lost today. Not all the crew were lost. At least 10 of those were crash landings. But the Germans did lose 21 G6s. They also lost 10 520s, 13 110s. We lost 13 Sterlings, or actually 21 Sterlings. The Sterlings will be withdrawn from service soon. So of the aircraft we lost with the British, 21 of them being Sterlings. I wonder if there's a reason. I wonder if they were like at the edge of their range, edge of their altitude. Maybe they were less effective. Because we only lost like 3 Lancasters. So 66 to 132 in terms of aircraft lost. If we take a look at the bombers lost. Okay. What? We lost 51 bombers on the Carnap raid? I didn't think it was anywhere near that bad. Holy shit. 51 out of 224 bombers in the second raid? Holy shit. That's worse. That's a worse loss rate than Schweinfurt. The first raid did fine, 7 out of 224. That's a really good day for the first raid. 36 out of 807 for the night raid. That's not too bad. I mean, that's bad, but it's not like you can't do that again bad. Especially for the damage I think we inflicted on Frankfurt, one of their major cities. So, well, here's the thing. It's not necessarily about the total bombers lost. It's about the ratio, right? So 224 losing 51 bombers, that's 22% of the planes you flew. You can't do that. You can't do that in any sort of somewhat regular. You can't do that. 36 out of 807, that's a 4% loss rate, right? So not only is the 4.5% versus 22% loss rate. Like the Americans did way worse. But then also the area damage, we don't have intel on Frankfurt. I think that might be worse than 21%. But even 21% of a largely undamaged Frankfurt burned out, that's a big, from a terror bombing point of view, big success. Whereas 51 bombers doing 18 damage to that power plant is not worth it, frankly. The morning raid did good job. 69 damage on a fuel plant, only losing 7 bombers. That's a success. The enemy lost 20 fighters in that second raid. They lost 13 in the first raid. Jesus. We didn't really lose too many fighters or anything like that, so that was not bad. Yeah. Anyone become an ace? Nope. Not yet. What's 4? What does fate 4 mean? Does it mean he's wounded? Must mean he's wounded. So the leading pilot was wounded. Ugh. 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 Campaign summary. Where were we before? So, before we were at 1,100 for strategic bombing. That basically remained unchanged. It dropped by 50. So those raids didn't even do enough to cover for the repairs the enemy's making. Terror score went up quite a bit. Went up to 102,000. It was at 99,000 before. So terror actually jumped from a 9 score to a 10 score. While strategic bombing largely remained unaffected. The German ready aircraft plummeted after today. They went from 2,800 ready aircraft to 2,800 to 2,000. So a huge drop in that. I think our air superiority score went up by 1 because of that huge loss of the air ready aircraft. So they've got a lot of aircraft that are being repaired and just the constant attrition. We lost 58 B-17s, 75 Allied pilots killed. 54 missing, so 129 pilots lost permanently. The wounded I'm not as worried about. The Germans lost 22 pilots KIA, so 22 to 129. Still, that's a pretty high number of pilots lost for them. Yeesh. All right. If we end phase, do we have any airfields yet in Italy? I need to get those aircraft closer to the front. Okay, so we have mandatory raids for the 8th Air Force. They got to hit U-boat pens. Whatever. We'll use the B-17s that didn't take heavy losses. The other guys are going to have to take a day off. 12th Air Force still supporting Avalanche. How's the weather, by the way? Did I just see that was really terribly bad weather? 70% cloud cover. It is full-on European fall now for sure. Meanwhile, still no airfields in Italy yet. Could you engineers start working on that? Looks like the front line's largely stabilized here. So not a lot. At least not near Naples. It's not pushing north. We're probably going to have to give most of our guys a day off after yesterday. That was rough. RAF and 8th Air Force will both need days off. We'll see how to proceed. I thought that second raid was going better than it was. I bet we lost like 30 of those aircraft as stragglers too, because that's where they were really picking us apart. Anyway, we will see what we do next time. But until next time, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed our look at Bombing the Reich, Gary Grigsby's Bombing the Reich. And I'll leave you with one. I'm not going to do this every episode, but I do have one other AI theme song, kind of a poppy sort of AI song I've been sharing a lot on the stream. So if you haven't been watching on the stream, you may have missed that. But let's go ahead. We'll share that on our way out. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Until next time, though, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.
With every era, he takes a stand. Strategy and